Finally, after about a month of waiting for these things, my exhaust system is ready. It's fully coated, along with the 2 sets of exhaust tips I fabricated and the MAF sensors. I had 2 aluminum MAF sensors that I had coated as well. So I dropped those things off about a month ago and they're finally ready for pickup. So been a long time coming. Can't wait to show you guys. So I'm almost there. I can't wait to see it. Let's do it. Hi guys, how are you? My name is Dan Dulac and welcome back to my channel on my V10 Ultima Evolution convertible build. It's been a minute since my last video. You know how it goes. Work gets in the way. End of summer, beginning of kids' school gets in the way, but you get it. And also a bunch of delays on just getting parts and supplies due to the pandemic. But we're back at it. On this video, we get to go pick up my exhaust system. So the headers, the midsection, the tailpipes are all ceramic coated or Cerakoted. Ended up with a titanium color, although it looks a little bit silver. I'll let you guys be the judge once you see it. But we also have some electronics I want to show you. You may have caught one of the pictures in the communities on my channel. I picked up some Motec electronics, so really excited to show that with you guys. We're also going to build some heat shielding. Before I mount up the exhaust for the final time and lower the engine back in for the final time, I'm going to build a bunch of heat shielding. So we're going to do that on this episode as well. So without further ado, let's get to work.
Minutes later.
I just got back from the powder coaters, guys. I cannot wait to show you how these things turned out. They've got them wrapped in some protective plastic, all the parts. Sitting in my driveway right now. I'm gonna unload these things, check them out. So let's see what we got. There we go, all wrapped in plastic. Let's get these in the garage and get this stuff unwrapped and see what this looks like. All right, here we go. All the parts unwrapped. And I really like how this came out. So these are, the header and exhaust system is Cerakoted, really thin application. So you can basically spray it all over. Even you know, flexible parts like these flex joints will take it. So since the last video, I also fabricated a second set of exhaust tips. Here's the originals that I created. Again, it's got a resonator, so there's some fiberglass packing in there. Those are resonated tips. Those are satin black. And then I made this set. These are 3.5 inch tips, and this is just Cerakoted, the same color as the rest of the exhaust. And I made these, you can see there's a little scallop, about a 10-degree scallop off the end of those, and those sit together something like that. So you can see they're scalloped opposing one another, and I took inspiration from this from McLaren P1 GTR. So here's a quick shot of that. I think that just looks killer sweet. So anyways, I tried to replicate and use that as my inspiration for these tips. So just a second set of tips to kind of change the look that I'm after on the car. And then the other thing I did was these MAF sensor housings. I had these powder coated wrinkle coat, and these will actually match the intake plenum very nicely. So that's gonna go there. Those are all set, ready to go. I've got the sensors, and we are ready to put this exhaust system on the car. Here's how the car's been sitting. Engine hoisted up, suspended in midair for better part of a month now. So I'm ready to get the headers set back in there, then I can lower the engine back down and start getting the rear end of this car buttoned up. And then we're full-fledged onto the wiring. So that's the skinny. Let's get to it. All right, guys, another thing I'm gonna work on actually before I put the headers on, I just remembered, is the cooling lines. I need to adapt a small piece, a T-fitting, if you will, for the outbound cooling that goes to the front of the car through the radiator. When the cooling comes back, I'm gonna use the main 2-inch or 1.5-inch hoses. I'm gonna put T-fittings on both sides for the heater hoses. So I've got a nice place to tee off the heater hoses. So let me show you what I'm looking at here. All right, here is the passenger side of the engine, and hot coolant comes out of the engine right here, and it will feed into this side pipe that goes to the front of the car where the radiator is. And I've already got this piece of hose that will slip on there, and then I need to connect these two. And what I'm gonna do is fit a small aluminum fitting with a barbed end teeing off the side of it as a tap point for the heater hoses. So that's what I'm about to do. Obviously with the header in place, you either gotta do it from under the car or the top of the car or both. So I'm gonna do it now while I've got the headers out, get that all plumbed in. On the other side, same type of thing. You can just see the end of the hose coming out down there, and that has to go into that fitting. I've got this tube here, it's almost a 180 bend there to connect those up. So similar, tight fit in there as expected, but I should be able to make it work. So let me show you what I've got here, mocked up. A couple of small aluminum pieces. One end is already flared. I'm gonna use my flaring tool to flare the other end here. And then where I've got this marked, I'll weld on these barbs right there, and that'll act as a T for the cooling, hot side and cold side for the heater hoses. So let's get to it. All right, I'm gonna put a little bead, a little sealing bead, just like on this bottom side. I'm gonna put one on the top side here using this tool, flaring tool. Basically, as you screw this in, it pushes these ball bearings outward as it rotates, and then it will seat a little flare on the aluminum tube there. I put a little bit of just grease on the inside of the tube here. That just helps lubricate things and keeps this thing from binding up. So with a couple of wrenches, we'll put a bead in here. right, T-fittings are done. Came out pretty good. And these are ready to mount. And then we're gonna get going on those headers. So let's get to it. All right, I've got those coolant line T-fittings all set, ready to go. I've got them in the car just temporarily until I get, of course, the headers on, the exhaust back in, back lowered on the engine mounts, and then I'll get it from underneath and secure all the hose clamps and so forth. But anyway, let me show you what I got here. All right, here on the driver's side, you can see right down in there, very tight clearance between it and the sump, but good news is there's some play in that, so I can move that away from the sump and clear. So I have to go from there to there, and here's the hose that's gonna do it. Passenger side, a little bit more room to work with over here. You can see I've got the T-fitting there for the heater hose supply, and then it just runs up to the engine. So anyways, let's get this exhaust system on the car. Picked up some new hardware for the exhaust manifolds. These look like copper nuts that I'll use. These are OEM, as well as exhaust manifold gaskets. Picked up a pair here as well. Those will go on as we start to get these things installed, hopefully for the final time. All right, headers are on, all torqued into place, new gaskets, new nuts, ready to go. I put the O2 sensor and exhaust gas temperature sensor in there on both sides. As you can see, I used a little bit of security paint as well, so it's easy. I use that stuff because it's easy if those start to back out or loosen up. It's a quick glance under the bonnet and you can tell. So those are in, looks good. Next up, I am going to fabricate some heat shielding down here while the engine is up off from the chassis. I'll use this opportunity to put some of that in and just give me some more protection in this general area. So let's get started on that and keep this party rolling. So let me show you what I'm gonna make some of these heat shields out of. There's a few different ways to do it, but I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use some of this fiberglass backed material. This is the same stuff that I use on the firewall. And then I just got some regular thin shielding as well. It's basically the same material here, but without the fiberglass backing. And what I'll do is, since the back of this is sticky, I'll unwrap some of this and just simply stick it to the back and make like a dual ply aluminum shield. And then this will be a little bit more rigid with the additional aluminum. Can bend it into place, and then actually I'm gonna riv nut it to the chassis so I can make this shield removable as well. So let's get started on this project. making good progress on this exhaust system. Fabricated a couple of heat shields that I'll show you now. I'm going to use some gold tape to cover up some of the bars, roll bars, and the chassis, pieces of the chassis. So let me show you what I got left to do before I put the engine in place, bolt the transmission back, and install the exhaust system. So let's see what I got left here. All right, here you can see both heat shields in place, passenger side, driver's side. As you saw, I used some 5mm riv nuts in there. Those make this removable for access during maintenance or whatnot. I've just got this midsection exhaust here just sitting there just to show you the clearance. So what I've got left to do is I'm going to do a similar heat shield over here to kind of protect some of these hoses in this section in here. And then I'll just use some of the DEI gold tape on these bars in there. I'm going to use a piece of gold tape here on this crossbar that goes across here, and then likely I might actually do a similar thing, make some of this shield for this triangle piece here, just to protect the top of the transmission from radiant heat. And then over here I've got a little bit more space to work with, but again, I'll probably do a small shield just in here, have it come up a little bit just to give some protection to this area. And then similarly, I'll use some of that gold tape on some of these exposed bars to prevent any heat transfer into the chassis. So that's that. Let's get to making those and keep it going. All right, the other piece of exhaust shielding is on there. You can see it right there. And I still have to cut a small hole kind of in the center for the single hanger, the hanger I have on that exhaust part, that midsection. So I'm gonna shift gears a bit. I'm gonna show you guys what I got in the mail recently. And it's some electronics, some really cool electronics. So let's take a look. All right, let's take a closer look here. What do we have? Get to that in a minute. First box, I gotta love the packaging that Motec uses. Pretty sweet. All right, so here is the power distribution capability. Apply battery feed and all your circuits come out of here. So I decided to move towards this unit, given the interoperability as a system with the other piece I'm gonna show you. So that's the PDM. And in this box is the piece de resistance. Yes, the C127 display. So this display, I think what I'm going to do is mount it in the center of the cockpit instead of in front of the steering wheel, given this is a little bit bigger. It's 7-inch. Normally in these builds, to put a display in front of your steering wheel, given the limited space, people do a 5-inch display, but I wanted something bigger, plus share in the eye candy with the passenger, with it centered in the cockpit. So this will be pretty sweet. I love this because you can create your own designs of your backdrops, your gauge layouts. I bought the software that allows you to design your own custom displays, all kinds of displays you can make, backgrounds, you can just go crazy with it. So I'm pretty excited about that. We'll dive into that at some point. Oh yeah, I got a 5-button unit with a rotary. This is a rotary unit, and this is very kind of OEM-esque with being able to navigate through the different screens on the display and so forth. So that'll be pretty sweet. And I also got an 8-button unit. So these will be like power, ignition, starter, blower fan for the heater, etc. So this is all CAN bus too. All these parts are CAN bus. So literally 4 wires, power, ground, CAN high, CAN low, and then you configure all these buttons. These are all 3-stage buttons, which is super flexible. So pretty pumped about that. And then of course this kit comes with all the button labels. So there are all kinds of labels. So I get to figure out what buttons are going to be what and figure all that out. The last bit of parts here, simply the wiring. all the pre-terminated plugs that go in, all the wiring, got the wiring kit. Glad I got this stuff in stock given the given the pandemic and getting parts, especially electronics. So another reason I went with the Motec parts, the PDM and the display, is there is a chance I'm going to have to upgrade to a new pair of ECUs for this engine. Still don't know yet. It's up in the air. We're going to be close to finding out here once I get the thing wired up and try to hit that starter. Don't know if I'm going to have to bypass any security system or whatnot. So the other reason I went with these Motec parts is Motec makes a pair of ECUs, both the master and slave ECU for this car. So anyways, that would give me ultimate flexibility. I think again, those Motec ECUs would be overkill for my setup since I'm not going to boost this thing anytime soon. Just going to run maybe just a tune on the map, on the OEM map, and that's about it. So that's it for now, guys. We're gonna see you on the next video. It won't be as long, hopefully. I've got all my parts in here. We are rocking and rolling on this build, so let's keep it going. We'll see you next time.